Anyways, alright. So this is DP podcast. This is the Dark Podcast. Or when you guys into the abyss gazes back into you, and whatever's within the darkness shines within the light. Alright. So cool. So back in the previous episode, what had happened was, I was referring to Titans, Primordials, deities, gods and goddesses, demigods and demi-goddesses, as well as apparitions and phenomenons. So going into a little bit more about this possession and basically the cinema that you refer to as like Stranger Things. Basically, what it is that in Stranger Things that you will notice that how they talk about different parallel, like alternate dimensions and shit. So everyone within themselves is a dimension because they have the entire universe within themselves if they have a soul and a mind and their ancestors within them, okay, their spirits, yeah, which is the Almighty God, okay, and they would technically be the Almighty gods if they have a soul, a mind, and the spirits, and their spirits, and if their spirits, their mind, and their soul is organic, and natural and original, and it ain't synthetic, not artificial, not fake, not fugazi, none of that. Okay, cool. So in Stranger Things, what it represents when they referring to how there's those altered dimensions and stuff like that. That's kind of how they. No, that's exactly how they work. So so the little girl from Stranger Things, that her name is 11 or whatever. So the reason why they represent her as a psychic is because they're referring to those who have the ability to see within the other side, that parallel dimension that they was talking about. So that would technically be the ether realm. So within when you get to the higher dimensions, what happens is those parallel dimensions that exist alongside the, like, let's say the first, second, and third dimension and stuff like that, and then the fourth dimension, you can still see what mortals refer to as the physical realm in the fourth dimension. Yes, you can, which is why it looks exactly the same. The fourth dimension is the etheric realm, which is the parallel or alternate dimension that exists within the third dimension while it's still here. The third dimension exists within the second dimension exists within the first. They referring to the first, second, third dimension, and fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension all at once. They refer to it as alternate dimension because those dimensions all exist in the world, within the worlds, and within the realms, and within the dimensions. And within the worlds and the realms within the mind. You did. So when you able to access different dimensions, when you deeper into your mind, you accessing different aspects of the same world and the same realm that you in. So the world that mortals refer to is the physical realm. Yeah, is basically it has multiple dimensions within it that refer to as altered dimensions, like the first, second, third dimension. So they make it sound like it's parallel or something like that, like it's like next to each other. And yes, it technically is because it's not technically like a hierarchy, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Them counts is just for mortals to understand how that shit work. But really, yes, it technically is a dimension within a dimension within a dimension. You did, and then that's what you. So it's basically a doorway, a portal going into a portal into a portal, and then the portals allow you to exist at different densities, phases of matter, basically. And those phases of matter exist within one another. Okay, so it literally is referred to as an altered dimension, not a multi. Well, which what New Age calls multi dimensions. Okay, multiple dimensions. But they're not gonna tell you how those multiple dimensions works. And Stranger Things, them niggas, I don't even know who. I don't give a fuck who wrote that shit, but whatever they was talking about with the dimensions and the alternate shit, that's exactly how it works. That was the complete truth. That is the complete truth. Now back to the girl, not back to the girl, but like referring to the girl 11 inside of the cinema Stranger Things. The reason why she's represented as a psychic is because they can access those what mortals refer to as those higher dimensions. They can access those deeper dimensions, and in those deeper dimensions, in different phases of matter, the psyche, which is the soul, which represents the Almighty God's what I'm saying, incarnated, I guess you could say, sound being, being, has the ability to basically interact differently depending not dependent, but it's basically when confronted, when they confront them, when they're able to exist within deeper dimensions. So, which is why she's able to have psychic abilities. Those psychic abilities don't exist within the what mortals refer to as the physical realm. But guess what? They exist within that darker realm, within the opposite realm, within that alternate realm. And when you basically tune into it with your mind as it is, and you deeper into your mind. Okay, when you traverse the depths of the abyss, which is your mind, what happened is you activate those abilities, what mortals refer to as abilities, which is basically you just simply being aware of your capabilities within different, or what they refer to as alternate or multiple dimensions, which once again exists within the mind. You dig? So that's why she has psychic abilities, because the psyche is able to, I guess you could say, exist uniquely within different dimensions. So in the physical, what Morris refers to as the physical realm, it appears to be just like flesh and blood. But when you get to the fourth dimension, it's flesh and blood, but now you see all types of shit. Like, you might see some weird, like, morphing and shape shifting and shit. And peep how in the show they had went and tried to fake the boy death, and then they had him in a fake ass suit, and basically they tried to like give off the impression that he was cloned and shit. It's like that, but if he was really a clone though, for real, instead of them just stuffing him with cotton or whatever, or another way they could have done it is that they could have had one of those entities or demons or whatever fuck they got from the ether realm, which is what they call the dark veil or some shit, the valor realm or some shit, whatever fuck they call it, the dimension, the dark dimension or whatever fuck they call it, the underworld basically, which what they refer to as the underground, and people how they refer to it as the underground, which is how, if you're in the streets, that's referred to as the underworld too. So who the fuck you think created the streets? Who the fuck you think created the dimension that exists, which the streets exist in? The streets is in a whole different, every hood, every street is in a whole different dimension than like the suburbs. That's why it look different when you go over there. Like, that's why when you in the streets, they refer to the suburbs as the square world, and then they refer to the streets is the underworld, because that's the part of the world that's on the other side type shit. Literally though, it's not in the same dimension. That's why you see buku shit over there, but then when you go in the suburbs, it ain't like that. Or when you go in the country, you go in the boondocks, you go in the bayou, it's not like that, because they all in different dimensions, and that's why they see different shit. That's why when you get to Louisiana, Haiti, or you know what I'm saying, you go to Caribbean, you see some shit over there, but when you go over there, when you go somewhere like in them big ass cities like New York or New Hampshire, you ain't gonna see too much going outside in the public. But when you go outside in public, like in the streets, in the hood or whatever, it's like a whole different world for it, because it actually is. That's though, because each world exists within a different dimension. It's not the dimensions that exist within the world; it's the world in the realms that exist in different dimensions. Actually, I put it like, I wasn't trying to like make it sound like the dimensions exist within the realms in the world, but within the shallower dimensions, it appears to be that it exists within the realms in the world. But it's the other way around in the deeper dimensions. In actuality, in all truth. So when 11 is able to use those psychic abilities, this is basically representing them using mortals and as well as immortals that incarnated to try to utilize them to run like GOV operations, them 3-letter agencies, what they doing, and they call it the Gateway Program, the Stargate Program, they call it the Gift and the Tattered Program, the Gifted Program. So they kept changing the names because they was trying to use them little kids, put them in tubes and shit, and do experiments with them to manipulate their ability, to manipulate their minds or their ego, so that they can use them for their psychic operations, so they can use them for those operations, GOV operations, different dimensions and shit.